Hey, Derrick J., you were in court this morning. I definitely want to talk about that. And then,
How exciting.
And then on the way, well, I think a lot of our listeners are very interested in knowing, Mark, what goes on.
No, you just seemed really excited about it, right? Like, hey,
okay,
Derrick, you were in court today. Woohoo!
Gotcha,
Like, most people are like, oh, what a horrifying experience. You look forward to this stuff.
No, actually, I don't look forward to going to court. I don't much like going into courthouses. There's always men with guns there who are, in a lot of cases, threatening and unfriendly. And I'd prefer to not go. I'd prefer to not spend my morning standing in a courtroom waiting for some man in a robe to call my friend up to determine whether or not they, in this case, you weren't facing jail. You were facing the prospect of maybe having your rights actually respected. Which is all about your right to carry a firearm concealed. You were denied what they call the shall issue permit here in New Hampshire, and I've never seen an appeal of that denial. This was a new kind of experience in court for me today, as it was, I imagine, for you as well, Derrick J.
Yes, the idea was that I want the ability to... Right now, I have the ability to carry a gun, any kind of gun, any number of guns that I want. Here in New Hampshire, I can strap an AR-15 to my back or an AK-47 and walk them both down the street. That's totally fine.
But if you were to conceal...
Right, if I were to throw a jacket over those, or if I were to put, say, a tiny pistol in my pocket, that would be a crime. And I think that's a problem. So I need to be able to carry my gun, step into my car without, unloading the magazine and checking the rounds. It seems dangerous to, be fumbling with a gun that often, whenever you get in and out of a car. So that's one of the requirements. For traveling in a car with a gun in New Hampshire is you need to have one of these concealed carry license. So I said, I'll pay the $10.
I have a car.
Yeah.
I have a gun.
Yeah, so I'll pay the $10 or whatever it is. It's a shall issue state, so they'll give it to me. But no, they said no, I can't have it because the chief of police in Keene says I have exhibited behavior that is assaultive or threatening. That's a lie.
Well, that's interesting because, I would think if you had assaulted someone, they'd charge you with criminal assault.
I've never been charged with assault or
What about criminal threatening?
Nope.
No. Never been charged, never therefore been convicted of either of those things.
No, of course not.
Where's this coming from?
It seems to me like he just doesn't like me and just says like, oh, I have a little position of power over this guy Derrick that I don't like. Well, I'll just say no. Yeah. I won't give him his rights.
Because he has no personal liability for this, right?
Nothing bad is going to happen to him.
If at the end of the day, and by the way, the trial thing or whatever we're going to call it, the full hearing did not actually transpire today. We can get into that here in a moment. Yeah. But if at the end of the hearing you are indeed found that you should have your right
unsuitable honored. That would be suitable or unsuitable. That's what it's being decided because
it's not guilty. It's not a guilty or not guilty. This isn't criminal.
Well, with shall issue, it's very simple. Did you pay the $10? Did you fill out the form? Are you a felon or are you a domestic partner beater? And I'm none of those things, so it's shall issue.
It should be a done deal.
Oh, wait, there's this extra sub-line where it says, also, if the chief of police or the issuing authority thinks you're not a suitable person, well, then they can also deny you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's what this seems to be all about. It's, he just says, well, you've exhibited assaultive or threatening behavior. And he could just say that.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what evidence they're relying on.
And it certainly seems like the prosecutor who is in there, they have the police prosecutor doing their defense for them on this.
Yeah.
It certainly seems like she buys his story, and she's acting as though you're some sort of menace to society up there.
Yeah, that's sort of how she was acting today. That's what she was claiming.
She always gets
in dispute.
It's this big, tall, blonde Amazon lady.
That's just not appropriate.
Why not?
You don't just call somebody who's some woman who's tall an Amazon.
Why
not?
Sorry. Isn't that an appropriate name for someone who's tall and large as a woman?
No.
Wonder Woman was an Amazon.
Why not?
Indeed, she was.
Is that an offensive thing to call somebody?
Why is it offensive? What's the problem with it?
It's just not appropriate.
Is it offensive to people from the Amazon?
No, it's not offensive to people from the Amazon. It's offensive to just just use names on people.
It's not a name. It's a description. It's a description. Just like you would say somebody's heavyset
or
whatever or skinny.
I think it's irrelevant.
Okay, well, whatever. For people that see, I know you don't care about court, Mark, but a lot of our listeners are interested. They will watch some of the court videos. In fact, many people have watched Derrick J's Victimless Crime Spree, which is a documentary film that you can go and watch for free right now over at victimlesscrimespree.com. Now, most of that's not court footage. Court footage, for the most part, is boring. But on the other hand, there's a real sort of drama that's been playing out over the years here. I mean, this is a continuation of the story of Derrick J's Victimless Crime Spree.
Yeah.
Because Derrick J, in the movie, you are denied then, back in 2012 or 2011.
Yeah, way back then I applied for a concealed carry license.
The
and was
reason
denied.
was that you were a known drug user at that time, is what they claimed.
Well, no,
correct?
that's just what one officer claimed, and he was just making that up on the spot. That's when I went to the police department to go find out, and I was like, hey, what do you mean I was denied? What's this about? And he just said, well, aren't you some known drug user? And he just threw that out as some...
That was never written officially down anywhere?
Correct.
Whereas this current one was written down, the reason for it?
The official reason for denial before was that it was a bail condition. It was because I was out on bail that I wasn't allowed to possess a firearm. It was just some little written-in thing like, you have to pay $1,000. Oh, and you can't have a firearm. I was like, oh, I didn't even notice that was one of my conditions of bail. Okay. Thanks, Judge Burke, for letting me know. Now I'll get rid of my guns. And so that's what it's been about. I've been trying to just go through the process of asking permission, do it the way I'm supposed to do it, and every step of the way they just keep saying no.
Yeah, well, that's why they want you to ask permission. They're all about that no.
It's terrible, and so you've actually had to hire an attorney, and I know it is not cheap. I think you were trying to raise, what, $2,500 to cover the cost of this?
Yeah, I did put up the money for the attorney. He's been generous with his time and was very good about making it a flat fee and
instead of hourly.
Yeah, which
that helps a lot because you never know if you're going to pay an attorney hourly what the total's going to be.
We were sitting in the courtroom today for 3 hours. You know, I mean that's just racking up the time. If it weren't someone who just cared about the issues and wanted to win because the issue is important.
Yeah, you would have paid any other attorney, $900 for 3 hours in court.
Right, but I think this one's important because it's about, it seems to be about my activism is the reason that they're denying me. There would be no other reason for the chief of police to say I'm
Seems pretty clear to me.
It's just like, oh, we don't like what he does. He exercises his First Amendment, so now he loses his Second Amendment. I mean, that's what it seems to be. I'm not an amendments guy, but I made political statements, and that would qualify as being First Amendment. So does that mean that people who make political statements lose their Second Amendment? I don't get it.
I have to say, as far as what we were talking about earlier, I am interested to see how this trial pans out.
Same here.
I'm not excited to walk into court, Mark. I don't like to be in court, but I do like it when people stand up for themselves in court, and I want to do what I can to support that. So that's why I was there this morning, bright and early, with you. It was 8:30. This thing was scheduled to get rolling.
Yeah,
and
there were a handful of other activists there too.
True.
It was so encouraging to see, and this wouldn't happen anywhere else. I wouldn't have challenged this in New Jersey, for example, where I'm from, because
could you? I mean,
no.
Is there a shall issue permit in New Jersey?
But your lawyer actually is handling a New Jersey case, too.
Yeah, he is. But no, I think it's May issue there. But the case is that you can't bring video cameras into courtrooms almost anywhere that I know of. But here in New Hampshire,
we had two of them today.
Yeah, I walked in with my camera. You had yours. Anyone could have walked in with their own camera, and they probably wouldn't have gotten bothered.
We're pretty old hat at doing cameras in the courtroom up here. Like it's almost an expectation.
But that's
they
a
know
big
we're
deal.
gonna be there. Yeah.
That's a big deal for other places where you don't have any transparency. So at least people are able to see what happens.
Yeah, and that's why I think what we're doing here is so valuable. And I'm sorry, it sounded like you were downing it earlier, Mark, and I don't know if that was your intention.
No,
but,
what I was saying was A, that you seemed really excited to go, and B, you called somebody an Amazon for no good reason.
Okay.
Judge Burke said he liked me. That happened.
That's true. I don't think he likes the Amazon woman. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can take control. It's not like I'm calling her a gypsy or something offensive. This is Free Talk Live. Of course, we're talking about Derrick J. in court this morning. The continuation of the victimless crime spree. Actually, not a crime involving a victim at all. Here was what the question was, but it was a continuation of his movie, Victimless Crime Spree, because the first time Derrick J. was denied a right to carry a firearm, denied his right, in this case, the permit that is supposed to be a shall-issue permit in New Hampshire to concealed carry. You can walk around open carrying, no problem, but in New Hampshire. But a concealed carry, the police department here is saying that he is not suitable to be able to concealed carry a weapon because he's a psychomaniac. Well, they didn't use those. They didn't use those terms, but almost that sounds very similar to what they did say about you.
I don't know exactly. What did they say? I don't think they... I mean, all they said on paper was that I have exhibited behavior that is assaultive or threatening.
Yeah, sounds like a crazy person to me.
Yeah, I guess so.
So they've denied you and you've appealed. Now, we're going to get back into some of the details about that here in moments.
Also, they were trying to determine what would be the proper remedy because the court failed to schedule the hearing in time.
Hold on, we're talking about your trial, your hearing now.
Oh yeah,
okay?
Excuse me.
So so that's basically was the thrust of court today. Instead of actually going to the full hearing about your rights and the gun thing and being able to carry concealed and why they denied you that. That will be coming in the future. Now the court is trying to figure out how to punish itself. For not following the statutes because
flagellation.
According to the statutes in New Hampshire, they put very specific time frames on, okay, you got denied, you filed this appeal of the denial, and then after you file that appeal, there's supposed to be a very short window, like a 2-week window of time where they're supposed to very quickly schedule this hearing because, well, gosh darn it, this is about your rights, and this should be an important hearing, so therefore it should be scheduled quickly is supposed to be the idea. But they dropped the ball, and they didn't schedule the hearing in time.
Whoops, they forgot. And Judge Burke admitted that. He said, it's not in dispute. We just forgot. We didn't meet the deadline. Now we have to determine, we have to stop everything. We can't really continue with this trial. We have to, or hearing rather, we have to determine how to punish ourselves. What will the proper remedy be?
And he's asking the attorneys what he should do to himself, basically, or to the court.
Anyone clue?
And so now the attorneys have to file memorandums of law with the court about this, advising the court of what the appropriate thing to do is. So instead of actually having your hearing,
have your attorneys.
We're coming back. It's Free Talk Live.
But people can, they can reward me with Bitcoin donations only. I don't take any of those blood dollars.
Wait a minute. You're taking blood dollars on GoFundMe.com.
Oh, you're right.
/gun rights because your lawyer is taking blood dollars. Are you paying him in Bitcoin or are you paying him with cash?
I paid in blood dollars.
Did you ask about Bitcoin?
Yes, he accepts. No, not Bitcoin yet, but silver. He takes metals and interesting trades, but not into the Bitcoin yet. Yeah.
All right, so you've hired the most renowned gun rights attorney in New Hampshire and New Jersey, from what I understand.
Yeah, he may be
Evan Knappen.
He may be at like the Northeast.
Yeah, this guy's a big deal, and he's helping you with this case. You were denied your right to carry a firearm concealed by the Keene Police Department, by the chief himself, Kenny Miola.
Aww.
And this is by the way, for longtime listeners of the show, this is the very same police chief who refuses to make eye contact with me or acknowledge that I exist in any way, shape, or form.
He did the same today.
Was he doing that with you today?
Yeah, I was trying to smile because I waved and smiled at the other police officers who were in the room. They were in plain clothes, and I was even complimented by one Jason Short who arrested me once upon a time. He said, "You always wear the nicest suits." And I was like, "Oh, that's so sweet of him to say."
I don't know if you're aware of this, but I'm gay. That's how we dress.
Are you suggesting Jason Short is gay?
No. He's saying me.
I know.
Yeah. Well, but the Pelican, all the other police, they're very friendly. They'll say hello. But this chief of police, Ken Miola, he won't even make eye contact.
I find it very childish, especially from someone whose supposed job it is to be accountable to the people. Here in New Hampshire, there's Article 8, I think, of the New Hampshire Constitution. Maybe it's Article 5. I don't know. It's one of those two that says that the government bureaucrats are supposed to be open. They're supposed to be accountable. They're supposed to be people you should be able to approach and get on the record, get them to talk to you.
Regardless of what the words on paper say, it's just being a part of being a human being. You're in the same room together for 3 hours. And, oh, by the way, you're part of the same case. You're in the same hearing.
Yeah.
We've got business together, Ken. Why don't you look at me in the eye?
He's ridiculous. So that's always a good challenge for a new activist in Keene. See if you can get the police chief to talk to you and for how long. So we came out to court to support you today. The actual hearing will be put off until who knows how long. So the funny thing was they missed their deadline. This whole hearing today was put off supposedly illegally. The court doesn't know what to do because there's no actual I think there was a mention today that there was no actual specific punishment for the court. Like there's no, even though they're not supposed to break their own rules. If they do break their own rules, there's no mechanism to do anything about that. Apparently.
Right. So this is the funny part about this is it's not like the party calling itself the state of New Hampshire, which, of course, the state of New Hampshire pays the paychecks of everybody who works at the court.
Right.
But regardless of that, the party calling itself the state of New Hampshire isn't the one that's in the wrong here. So in this adversarial system, it's pretty obvious what they could do to one side is they could, dock them in their case some way, and they could just say, look, you weren't fast enough, or you didn't do this in the right time, so he gets his right to carry a concealed weapon.
But what you're pointing out is that it was the city of Keene who they were on time. That was the court that dropped the ball with the scheduling.
Yes.
Right.
So the other party wasn't at fault.
If, in a game, how do you dock the referee? It makes no sense. I mean, yes, the referee is clearly on one side or the other, but the referee won't say that. He won't say, well, of course, I work for the state of New Hampshire, and you people are the state of New Hampshire, and this is really just some kind of stupid show trial, so I will dock the state of New Hampshire. He can't do that because that sort of blows a lid off of the whole thing that they do. And I think that to some extent they do try to be as impartial as they can. I just don't think that the system itself lends itself to impartiality.
Sure.
Well, he had to appear extra impartial today because my attorney
he complimented you.
Yeah, he said he liked me, and I was touched. My attorney filed a motion for recusal or change of venue, and that means that he was saying, "Hey, judge, I think you're biased, or your courtroom is biased, and we want a new courtroom and a new judge." And Judge Burke
Denied.
said no.
And that absolutely, anybody who asks for that should be able to get it.
No,
if for whatever
it's never
reason
going to happen.
You think you aren't going to get a fair trial,
Everybody's going to say that about a judge they've been in front of before.
I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be able to get it.
The reason why would be if you were busy, and I'm kind of recapping what Burke said, he sees the same people all the time in that court. It's not unusual for Burke to see the same person over and over again. A lot of people keep having the same problems in life, and they end up in front of the same judge. If they could just ask for a new judge every time they had a trial, they'd quickly run out of every single judge in New Hampshire
right.
at that point. So it's not going to work that way.
But it seems to me that in a system where you're supposed to be, where the state is providing you with the referee, and you don't feel like you're going to get a fair, go from the referee,
and they've already screwed up.
Yeah.
They've already screwed up, and they don't know how to punish themselves. I mean, they could have avoided the whole problem by just passing it to a different court. They would have said, "Oh, that last court screwed up. Here's your license." I don't know.
So he complimented you after. So the attorney had re-brought up his motion. The motion was originally denied, but your attorney wanted to get it on the record in court, the denial, and that was when Burke sort of explained himself that he was impressed with your ability to defend yourself the last time you were in court.
He remembered that I defended myself in the Live Free or Die trial,
which is
the one where
in your movie.
Yeah, which is in Victimless Crime Spree. And he complimented me at the end of that, saying, "Oh, you did a good job." And I always thought he was just not serious because I felt me guilty.
It was genuine.
But he found me guilty on all 3 charges.
Right.
If you're saying good job, I mean, throw me a bone, man. Give me something. Good job. If I really did a good job, I would have won. But he found me guilty on all 3 charges.
His claim was
maybe he was genuine.
You didn't have the facts in your corner.
That's what he said. Yeah. Oh, you did a good job. You didn't have the evidence, but good job anyway. Well, okay.
So I felt, and I remember that moment too, and I felt he was genuine in that moment. I felt he was genuine today. I really did
too. I was shocked. It's nice to see a guy who I see as like, he puts away all kinds of peaceful people. That guy with the dog license. I'm saying, oh man, can't you have a
heart?
Give
it up, buddy.
And then. And then he comes to me and he's like, "Oh, I know Mr. Horton. I like him," or something. He said, "I like him." I was like, "Wow."
It's amazing how one can sort of feel this way. I feel the same way, the same sort of servile feeling towards Judge Burke that you're talking about too. I like the tax assessor in my town. I mean, this is the way that you can feel about these, because these are real live human beings. I mean, it's easy to sort of vilify them like in the movie. Guilty.
Well, I think that is something that is unique. I don't know if it's that unique, but it's something special to New Hampshire, at least, because it's such a small place. Judge Burke is the only district court judge in in Keene, and in some places, Manhattan or wherever, there's probably 50 district courts or something crazy like that, or one district court with 50 courtrooms in it or something. So here you kind of you can't help but create relationships with the people inside the state, and they become less monstrous as a result of that, and more like humans who are just doing the wrong thing. They're just for whatever reason, their incentives in life don't encourage them to do the right thing, and hopefully we'll see that change someday. So we've been talking in detail about what was a relatively short hearing this morning, maybe 10, 15 minutes or something like that, where ultimately your gun rights were not they were not heard. The trial did not move forward. That will be happening, I presume, about a month from now or longer at this point, because the attorneys now have to file more papers with the court to advise the court on how to handle its own mistake of not scheduling the thing in enough time. So not only did the court not schedule your hearing about your gun rights, Derrick J., within the legal time frame to schedule it, but now that they haven't scheduled it within the legal time frame, they need to take more time to figure out what to do about them not scheduling it within the legal time frame. So instead of getting your hearing in any sort of speedy manner, as a result of their mistake, it's now taking weeks longer to actually have the hearing happen. So you will continue to be deprived of your right to concealed carry.
Well, if I'm not willing to engage in some civil disobedience.
This is true.
It's only a Class A misdemeanor here in New Hampshire, which is a pretty small...
it's up to a year in jail.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah. Considering some of the things that happened during victimless crime spree.
That's true. You were facing 9 years at that point.
Yeah, one small charge of carrying a weapon concealed when I'm in the process of getting my concealed carry license anyway wouldn't seem to be too bad.
So did you feel like there was anything that we left out of the story from this morning?
No, I think that fully covers it. There will be video at freekeen.com tonight.
Which I haven't. That's your video, right? You're
Yes.
going to be putting up? Because I've got video footage too.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.